J'maine, you're a little bit of a meat axe on the field, so we thought we'd bring you axe throwing. You ever done this before?
Never.
But you did say you're a carpenter, and this is your brand of hammer, the same as the axe, so you should be comfortable, right?
Yeah, the old S-wing. Haven't held one for a while, but it's a feeling that I know very well.
All right, well, that's an early advantage for you. Let's get into it, eh? Well, J'maine, you grew up in Hervey Bay in Queensland. Tell me about your memories growing up there.
Yeah, I suppose I have pretty good memories. I don't know if anyone knows Hervey Bay now. A lot of people probably wouldn't speak too highly of it, but I had fun growing up there, obviously, on the beach and on the water and surrounded by family, so I always got pretty fond memories of it.
And your family had a strong connection with the rugby league club there?
Yeah, my grandfather was part of the first Seagulls team that ran, I think it was 1972 or 73, and he was a part of that. Yeah, family's always been a big part of the Seagulls club there, and I suppose helped me coming through as well.
You didn't really see a path for NRL, right? Like, it wasn't really a thing that people from Hervey Bay did, was go and play football for a living.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's still something now that, you know, it's hard to get exposure there, and when I was growing up, you know, never really had someone to look to, or because no one really did it. I suppose that's pretty special for me, and that's something that later on in my career I want to help kids obviously come from that sort of area and try and make it a bit easier.
You didn't exactly love rugby league when you first started playing, did you?
Nah, pretty funny story. My first game, played the game or ran off the field or whatever and told my dad that I wasn't playing the game. Was too rough for me or something like along those lines, I said, and went and played soccer that year with my sister, and then, like I said, our family was so ingrained in football and rugby league there that it was only a matter of time before I'd come back. So only lasted the year at soccer, and then I was straight back into it.
You were kind of, as you were working on the Sunshine Coast, you just fell into football as well then, right? Like, it wasn't, again, even a career path at that later stage in your late teens.
Yeah, when I first moved there, I wasn't even going to play footy. I was just like, yeah, it wasn't something I really thought about doing. It was just moved there to work, and I was probably just lucky. I had a mate that was from Hervey Bay that moved to Caloundra as well the same year, and he just was bugging me, messaging me saying, oh, come down and play. And I didn't really want to put a sort of another thing on my uncle. You know, he was driving me around, I was living with him, and then Caloundra's 20 minutes from where we were living. I was like, oh, he's going to take me to training. And I sort of talked to him about it. He said, oh, we'll go to one training session, and if you like the team and like the boys, then we can talk about it after. And then I got to train, and we just did a couple of little drills, and the coach came up to me straight after training, and he's like, oh, we really want you to play. Like, can you play for us? And got in the car with my uncle, and I said, oh, they want me to play. And he sort of said, all right, yeah, if you want to do that, then, you know, we'll make it work. So I was driving back and forth at Caloundra, was playing club footy, and yeah, sort of just went on from there and had a couple of really good years in Caloundra, and was lucky enough to get opportunity to trial at Penrith. I think it was for an SG ball team or something when I was 16, and yeah, just went from there.
When you came to Penrith, you weren't always a middle forward, were you?
No, I was actually, Jim Jones out at Penrith signed me as a hooker. So I was always playing dummy half growing up, and at Caloundra I was playing dummy half as well and trialled at dummy half, and he signed me. And then I got down here and did the whole pre-season in hookers and halves group, which anyone who knows footies, that's not the group you want to be in. It's the hardest group, and you've got to be the fittest. And did the whole pre-season at hooker as well, and then wasn't until we got to a couple of weeks out from a trial and sort of asked the coach, oh, what am I going to play? And he said, oh, I'm going to play at lock. And I was like, oh, all right. So I hadn't even trained there the whole time, really. It was just got thrown in there, and then just put weight on pretty easily, and then sort of got a little bit bigger, and yeah, sort of just fell into the forwards.
You were telling me before we started that, you know, gym wasn't a natural thing for you. You're not really a lifter, you didn't really train to be an athlete. So how did you go putting that weight on to play in the middle?
Well, I was always a chubby kid. There's probably photos of me getting around. I was never a small kid, never skinny, and then I just, when I was working in the Sunshine Coast, and we worked some pretty big hours. I was working like 5:30 to 5:30 every day, and the weight just fell off me. I think it was all probably just that baby fat or whatever everyone says, and I got pretty thin. I was maybe like under 90 kilos, 80-something kilos. And then as I got down here and sort of started lifting weights, and I just put weight on. I've always been able to put weight on pretty easily, and still now. I've got to watch in the off-season. I put it on pretty easily.
J'maine, you are the guest. You go first.
Sweet.
3. Right, even pegging's a start. Well, J'maine, you went from New South Wales Cup to being in a Queensland Origin squad in about the space of 9 months. Can you believe how quickly it all came about?
No, it was pretty crazy. Like I said a few times to a few people, you know, if you would have told me, you know, 16, 17 weeks ago at the start of the year that I was going to be in that position, I would have laughed and said you were crazy, but that's all part of it. And yeah, I was obviously pretty grateful and pretty honoured to be a part of that squad.
Do you remember when Billy Slater first rang you?
I was just laying in bed. I think it was a Sunday morning or something, and then he called me and yeah, he said if I wanted to come in and be a part of the squad as 19th man, and yeah, I was pretty happy.
How much do you want that jersey now and that chance to run out for Queensland?
Yeah, that's something that growing up in Queensland, every kid loved the Queensland and loved the Maroons, and that's definitely something that I want to achieve throughout my career. And it was awesome to get a taste of the camp and be surrounded by those guys and learn a lot from that experience. Alfie was good, it was a good laugh, and then obviously just guys like Billy and Cam Smith and Jonathan Thurston. Like, I looked up to those guys when I was growing up and watching Queensland play, and just to be surrounded by them and picking their brain a little bit for a week, or a bit over a week, was awesome.
What was it like to be a part of that Penrith side, obviously, that went on and won a couple of grand finals, went to 3 straight, I think, to be in that squad and learn from those guys, even if you weren't playing consistently?
Yeah, like I'm sure anyone would have wanted to be a part of that, and it was pretty special, like knowing a lot of those guys before they'd done anything, and watch them talk about wanting to win competitions and then going out there and doing it as well. Like that 21 year, I was 19th man for the grand final, and there was 20 rings, and you know, like I warmed up, and we were just there, and in the sheds after they won, and Ivan came up to me with the ring case and had a ring with number 19 on it, and I still remember there was Mitch Kenny, Matt Eisenhuth and Charlie Staines, who all 3 of them had played like 15 to 20 games that year, and I'd only played 5. And I had it, and I sort of felt a bit guilty about it. And once I got a couple of beers in, I was handing it out to him and let him wear it. And we're all lucky. We're all so tight in that squad. The club ended up getting everyone rings made that year, so I didn't have to feel too bad about it. Being in that All-Star squad and seeing how much those guys knew and was something that I envied a little bit. And so that's a little journey that I still need to go on.
Because you're the only Indigenous player in the Eels top 30, right? So that's pretty rare, like that we'd only have one player in a squad, particularly these days. So what's that like to kind of pass on what you do know to some of your squad members? I've seen you do that in Indigenous round this year. Yeah, the club's been awesome. We had some dancers come in and the boys got around it, and the jersey for next year is actually designed a little bit around me, and has got my totem and stuff on there. So that's been pretty special, and yeah, it can be challenging sometimes as the only player to sort of teach the boys a little bit about it, but yeah, this year's been awesome, and the way the club did it, they did a great job. Shot. When did you realise at the Panthers that your path was probably going to be blocked and you're going to have to go elsewhere for a real opportunity to win a premiership ring of your own?
It was probably in that last year, or 2022. I think I played 5 games the first year I debuted, and then the next year I played 4, I think, so 9 across 2 years. And you could probably see, you know, a lot of those guys were still going to be around at the club for a while. And, you know, after speaking to my manager and things like that, we sort of knew that it was probably time to look elsewhere and sort of search for an opportunity. So that's what we did.
Why Parramatta?
Just they had guys leaving, and I remember sitting down with Brad, and just the way that me and Brad sort of got along after that first meeting, and he's a straight shooter and tells you how it is, and I think that's something that correlates well with me. And I suppose after that first meeting, you know, I was just like, oh yeah, I think that's definitely the right move for me. And Brad never promised anything from the meeting. He always just said, you know, if you come here and work hard and, you know, earn the right, then there is some opportunity here for you. And I always like to think I was that was something that I was good at, was just being able to work hard and in the pre-season and prove that, you know, I've got what it takes. And yeah, I suppose I'm pretty happy I made that decision now.
Let's push it forward through Hopgood, gets an offload away. Cartwright, here they come again.
The number one offloader in the NRL this season. Where did you get that skill from?
I don't know, something that's always just come naturally to me. And yeah, it's pretty interesting to see leading in the NRL in offloads. I didn't think I'd be getting that far.
Hopgood. Oh, another offload.
Picking the right moment to offload, like you said, it comes naturally, but it is a science, because there's guys that get it wrong, there's pushing passes, there's putting your team under pressure. Like, do you think about it in the moment, or it just kind of happens?
Oh, I've got it wrong as well before. That's for sure. I don't know, I suppose Brad always talks about a bit more deep into offloading is, you know, sighting your target and obviously having the arm in a good position to make that pass. When it's there, I'm just happy to throw it, and that's probably something that's Brad's given me confidence in, is he knows that I've got that in my game, and he's never held me back from whether it's the first minute or the 80th minute.
Mate, to finish off, how exciting is the next couple of years of your life? You know, as you said, a young one on the way, but a career that's on the up and the up. How much are you looking forward to it?
Super grateful for the club at Para for putting that trust in me, and we've got a pretty good group of boys there, and that's halfway to getting what you want to achieve, is having a group of guys that all get along. And I suppose once you get everyone on the same page and looking towards a common goal, then you're halfway getting there already. So good to look forward and know that I've got a couple of years locked in, and yeah, pretty excited to see what can happen.
J'maine, thank you so much for your time sharing your story. Good luck with impending fatherhood. Good luck for the rest of the season, and really appreciate your time.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.